Hi, everybody. I promised a pastry lesson today at noon, and that's what we're going to do. So, before we start, I'm going to tag a few friends here. Just so I know there's somebody out there listening. So wave if you are. Hi, Laura. Nice to have somebody to talk to. Hi, Laura. In the Grapes of Wrath, Grandma Jode feeds that vacuum cleaner salesman. Do you remember that? And she can't buy a vacuum from him, but she says, the least I can do is give you a piece of pie and a glass of milk. And Grandpa Jode says, why do you feed all those drifters who come by? And she says, as long as there's apple on them trees and some flour in the larder, no man will leave here hungry. There's a lot of quotes in Grapes of Wrath, and I was looking up the quotes. I couldn't even find that one. That's the one that stuck with me. In my house, where I grew up, there was always pie. The pie is cheap to make, but oh my goodness, life is too short to eat store-bought pie. I'm sorry, people. Like that cardboard crust, that is not, to me, that's not pie. My grandma made great pies. My mom made pies. So it would be, mincemeat pies for Christmas, lemon meringue pies for Easter. All summer there was rhubarb, strawberry pie in the spring, and then there would be apple pie and in the fall, and peach pie in the late summer, and butter tarts all year round. Even though, but that's something my mom learned when after moving to Canada, because that's not on the English menu, and she learned it, and so she would make butter tarts for us, and my job was she put currants in them, dried currants, as she would say, currants, and my job was to put the currants in the bottoms of the tart shells, and I was a little girl, and I always believed that I would try to make pastry when I was younger, and it was a full afternoon's nervous breakdown to roll out some pastry to make a pie. And I always thought, it seems to me that the prerequisite for knowing how to make a good pie crust and do it if really quickly and efficiently was to be over 50. Well, I'm well over 50, and guess what? I can do it. But I have learned some tricks that it makes it so easy that I wish I'd known when I was younger, and I'm going to show them to you today, because nothing says I love you like a pie. And pie is meant to be eaten the day it's made, because the crust is really only good. I mean, it's okay the second day for sure. I mean, I leftover apple pie any day, and but it's the thing about it being fresh made, fresh out of the oven, just like Grandma Jode's apple pie. So today, because it's my wonderful Bobby's absolute favorite in the whole world, butter tarts, I'm going to make the pastry, and then I'll tell you how to make it into an apple pie or whatever. I'll just tell you, but we will make butter tarts. So later today, after the dough has had a chance to chill in the fridge, we're going to make butter tarts at around 4 o'clock. I'm going to show you the filling. My husband, like I said, when I make butter tarts, he thinks they're just for him, like no sharing, a dozen for him. But we all get on that bandwagon and say, no, you have to share. And my son-in-law, who I've told you about, Darren, he loves butter tarts too. And his beautiful wife, Adrienne, my daughter, said to him one day, so, honey, whose butter tarts do you like better, my mom's or mine? Like, that's a trap. So this is one of the reasons I love Darren. You know what he said? He said, well, Adrienne, I like your mother's pastry better, but I like your filling better. So we're going to use Adrian's filling recipe. And that's going to be later, but we're going to use my pie crust recipe. And it's not a secret recipe. Well, there are a couple of secrets to it that I'm going to show you in a minute. So Bobby's here to do the filming, and Bobby is French Canadian. French Canadians have a wicked sweet tooth in general. I'm generalizing here. I'm stereotyping, but like most of the French Canadians I know, they like things sweeter than like anything. And here I am, the one who makes the halves the sugar and everything. But you can in butter tarts because they're nothing but sugar in the filling. And it's caramely, right? And Bob's saying is if it doesn't involve caramel, it's not dessert. So with that, we're going to get started. Are you enjoying this so far? And you'll just get on with it, Sandy. Make the pastry. All right. So I'm going to flip this around and give it to Bobby. And I need to get rid of your comments, so I'm not really sure how to do that. Okay, well, they're there for now. They'll go away soon. Anyway, here's Bobby. Say hi, Bobby.
How are you?
Okay, and here I am. All right. Not only am I going to teach you how to make pastry, I'm going to teach you why you do certain things, because then it'll all make sense to you, and then you won't forget. So, here are your best friends making pastry. A box cutter. What? Yes, a box cutter. Your second best friend is vodka. I put that in your recipe list yesterday. It is not for drinking. And your third best friend is cold ice. I'm going to get some ice here. So to start with, I'm going to put some ice cubes in a large measuring cup and fill that up with water so that it gets really, really good and cold. If I'd been smart, I would have put the vodka in the freezer too. We should keep vodka in the freezer, right? That's where vodka belongs, but I didn't this time. Anyway, so you're going to need ice water. Now, having said, the friends of pastry are box cutter, keep things light, cold, and vodka. The enemies of pastry are like a double-edged sword, because pastry needs water, but it is also the enemy of tender pastry. So I'm going to tell you how, that's where vodka comes in. So I'm going to tell you about that when we get there. The other enemy of pastry is heat, the heat of your hands. And yet you do need your hands. So again, I'm going to show you when to use your hands, which have heat in them, 98.6, and when not to, okay? And when you understand that, you are going to make simple pastry. So I've left my lard in the fridge because cold, 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 right? So I use lard. Now, people use shortening. I don't like that. I don't like what it tastes like. People use butter. That is not English pastry. If you use butter, you are making a pâté sablé, which is a French pastry. And I also love French pastry, but it's not flaky, not layered. It's crumbly like shortbread, which is why it's called pâté sablé. Sablé means sand. It's got the texture of sand. And you use that to make a flan, or a French lemon tarte, or tarte chocolat. And, you know, we can do that another day. It's a little fancier. This is good old-fashioned English cooking, English pastry, which you use on, like, you can use it on a chicken pot pie. You can use it for your two-crust pies like apple or peach. You can use it for one-crust pies like pumpkin. Any of those. What am I doing? I am grating the cold lard. I learned this on Michael Smith's cooking show. Michael Smith is a good down-home cook. I like his show. He's a little bit annoying to watch, but I learned this from him. And why wouldn't we? Why are we going about with these pastry cutters and everything when we've got a perfectly good box grater in the drawer that is going to make the lard the right size of pieces? Because pastry, unlike other doughs and batters, is about suspending the fat in the flour, not incorporating it at the molecular level. You want pieces of
lard or fat to be suspended in the flour. And then when you put it in the oven at high heat, which we started at high heat, like 450 degrees, it melts very suddenly, poof, and it makes a little pocket of air that creates a flake of flour and lard. A flake, not a crumb. Okay? So that's, everybody says you want flaky pastry. That stuff, when you buy a pie in a store, not only is it 3 days old, so it's already like whatever flakes it had are gone, but they're mass producing it, so the machines just mush it up too much, and the pieces of lard are not this size. See how big the pieces of lard are? I am making the whole pound because why not? While I'm getting my hands into this, I might as well make it because it freezes well. And then you'll have some crusts in the freezer. I have to get the lard off because my hands will be too greasy to be able to pick anything up. My sink is full because we just had a dishwasher meltdown just before I came on. That freaked me out. But anyway, I'm going to fix it. It's not going to be a problem. Yes? Something on the phone. Just let me look, hon. Somebody asked my neighbor. Okay, that's fine. Asked my neighbor for half a cup of vodka and they left 1.2 liters. Great Canadian neighbor. That's Laura. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, share the vodka. Anyway, all right. So the whole pound of lard, and now I'm going to add 5.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I like all-purpose flour for my pastry. Some people like cake and pastry flour. If you're going to use cake, don't use 100% cake and pastry though. If you're going to use that, because that's what you've got in the cupboard, use half and half, okay? And you need 6 cups if you're using pastry flour, because you always need a little bit more with pastry flour. Lynn Griffin told me today that apparently the stores are low on flour. That's a bad thing. So you might need to share on that too. So if you do see it in the store, if you happen to be lucky enough, get yourself some, maybe get some for your neighbor. 2, 3, and this is going to make 5 or 6 pie crusts. What was I at? 3, 4, 5. Okay, and a really generous pinch of salt. Okay, really generous pinch of salt. Now, like I said, I don't want to get my hands in there because of heat. So I will have to at some point, but I want to do it as sparingly as possible. So a fork is really good for this. Just gently mix that up to get all of the lard gratings coated in flour. That's all we're doing here. Take your time. You can kind of mush it against the side of the bowl. That helps a little bit. Like that. And I would say do not put your hands in it at this point, because you'll start to melt the, there's some globs there. I just said don't put your hands in it, and then I did. I was just not getting some globs pulled apart. But again, like as little as possible. Use your fork instead, as an extension of your hand. Keep it nice and light. Okay. Now, Grandma Jo didn't use a box grater. I'm sure she used a pastry blender, and maybe you have one, maybe you don't. It doesn't matter, but I think you've got a box grater. Actually, 2 knives. That's how we used to make it, I think. 2 knives. You get 2 knives and you go like this against each other, That's another way to do it. And they say until it resembles oatmeal with a few pieces the size of green peas. That's what they usually say in the recipes. Okay, that is ready. Okay, do you see that? That's ready. But I think the box grater is brilliant. Now, this wants cold water. 1 cup of water, of cold water to this is what we want. If you go over a cup, you start to make your pastry tough. But 1 cup is not enough to allow you to roll the thing out without it all breaking up into bits and having to patch it. Have you done that? You can tell me in your comments. You can give me a like on that. Isn't that what drives you crazy? The thing you're rolling out is all breaking apart. You're like, oh my God. But it said 5 tablespoons of water, you know, like I need more water. But water is going to make it tough. So that's where the vodka comes in. Vodka, of course, is mostly alcohol, which is going to burn off. It is not water. It's not going to make it tough, but it's liquid, so it's going to make it pliable and easy to roll out. It's not about flavor. It's not about chemistry or anything like that. If the vodka is because I don't want to put that extra quarter cup of water. I'm going to replace it with a quarter cup of vodka. So, and I learned that from Cooks Illustrated, which is a great book, a great magazine. It's the American Test Kitchens. So 1 cup of ice cold water, and a quarter cup of vodka. Oh, and by the way, I was thinking maybe you guys could all send me your ideas and recipes for a quarantini, because I think, you know, I got a little bit of vodka. We can have a quarantini later. And you're my quarantine. How about that? That's all. Now again, the fork. Start to bring it together. Starting to come together in little like lumpy bits, clumps. Again, squish it against the sides of the bowl to get it to clump for you. Some people make pastry in the food processor. I've never been successful that way. Again, to me it's mealy, but it's very good for the pâté sablé. For French pastry, I make French pastry in the food processor with butter. Although, you know, we can't really make the same kind of crust that they make in France because their butter has a higher fat content than ours. Ours is only 80%, and theirs like 85%. That's why their croissants are better. That's why their pâté sablés. That's why all French pastries are. We can't really make them unless you pay for Normandy butter, which is like, what is it, like $12 a pound or something, if you can find it. Okay, so now, see, that's what it looks like, okay? It's just, it hasn't all 100% come together yet. See that? But there are some clumps. That's about right. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my counter. So it doesn't stick. I'm going to start now the hands. Now I'm going to use my hands to bring this together. Okay? I'm going to bring that together. You'll feel it's kind of becoming like a dough. I can knead it just a little bit. My mother used to say 5 kneads. That was 3. I'm just putting the crumbs up on top, so push them in. And that's about as much as I can do in kneading. Otherwise, it's going to start to get, I'm going to start to get too warm with my hands and too, it's still nice and cold. I can feel it's cold, but and too mushed together. Okay, so that's about it. Oh yeah, that's a nice sign. See how it's going? Okay, good. Now I'm going to cut that into into 6 pieces. Get a knife. And while I'm over here, I'm going to get the plastic wrap. Okay, I'm going to cut this into 6 pieces. Actually, I don't want to cut against my brand new beautiful counter. I put out a cutting board because, like I said, I don't want to cut my nice new counter. So 6 pieces. And each one of these you take and roll into a ball. And that brings it together even a bit more. I'll show you what you're going to do with these balls in just a sec. I'll just get all 6 of them made. Oh yeah. Nice pastry, I can tell. Still cold in the middle, and it's just sort of damp. This one was a bit small. Try to get them even sized. There we go. Are you beginning to hunger for those butter tarts? Bobby's one happy guy. He knows he's getting homemade butter tarts today. Okay. So then, last step is to get them ready for the fridge. They have to get good and chilled in the fridge. Don't try and roll them out warm. I used to make that mistake. I got impatient and I'd try to roll them out. They'll break apart on you. Don't do it. Don't be tempted. Okay? You really have to give it the good 3 hours in the fridge to chill. That's why we're going to make the tarts this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Get a piece of plastic wrap. Put a ball in. Wrap it loosely. Just loosely like this. And then squish it. Squish it into a disc. That's not a very, sometimes I get them nice and round. And then put them in the fridge, not like separate them out in the fridge so that each one gets a chance to chill on without, anything else. Like it'll chill faster if it's on its own, not piled up with the others. So find some space in the fridge to put them individually. You're going to make 6 of those, and you're going to put them in the fridge, wherever you can, like that. So, okay? And chill them up. Do you have a rolling pin? You're going to need a rolling pin later. If you don't have a rolling pin, I'm thinking you can use like a smooth glass or a plastic. If you've got a plastic, hard plastic cylinder of some kind, look around for something that you can use to fill in to roll it out if you don't have a rolling pin. I don't know what else, but maybe you can make some suggestions. So, because you're going to need a rolling pin. And you also need a cutter, a tart cutter, but if you don't have a tart cutter, that's okay. You can look for something in your kitchen that's, about this big around that you can put down, and then you can use a knife to go around it to make your cutouts for the tarts, okay? Okay, great. All right, so 4 o'clock this afternoon, I'll meet you back here and we'll make the filling. What do you need for filling? You need, I like maple syrup the best, but corn syrup is traditional and very good. You need brown sugar. Oh, I have one thing to show you. Brown sugar, you need a little bit of butter, a little vanilla, and an egg, okay? My brown sugar had gone hard this morning, so I cut it in pieces. I put a half an apple in here, put a half an apple in, make it airtight. That'll be soft by the time I go to use it. But do remember to take the apple out. I forgot one time, it went moldy and I had to throw the whole thing out. All right. Okay, check your brown sugar. If it's gone hard, do this. Put it in a bag or something with a half an apple in it, and it'll soften up. Okay, see you later, everybody.
See you later. Bye now.